って警戒させてしまいますからね。
なるほど。そうか、頼む。お兄様、最近アルビス殿と仲がよろしいようですが、まさか相引きしたいだけとか？え、ベニマルとアルビスが？どういうことかな、ベニマルくん。
誤解ですよ、リムル様。シュナよ、バカなことを言うな。
One thing that I never really thought about or gave consideration to or for was the fact that Rimuru didn't have the complete area of the Forest of Jura. You know, for some reason in my head, I had always thought that the land that Trainee and the Dryads ran, I kind of thought that that was the amalgamation of all of the Forest of Jura. And this episode really made it clear that the majority of the Forest of Jura is under, you know, Trainee under Rimuru now, essentially. But that there is still kind of like the mountain lands and sides that they told us, and they told me, they told you, that they told that there's another side of the river that Trainee's protection, you know, the Dryad's protection doesn't touch. So that leaves, you know, based on the photo that they showed us, that leaves a bunch of different, you know, races that we know about that are here. But that also leaves a bunch of races that we haven't interacted with that could still, you know, obviously become a part of Rimuru's domain. And I think, you know, I like what Rimuru's doing here with setting it up. He's like, okay, because I'm the demon lord now, and because I set up the Forest of Jura, the, you know, the octagram, whatever, they've given him the forest, or they, you know, he's announced that the forest is his. They've acknowledged that. He's like, okay, I'm being told now that, you know, lizard men, more wolves, you know, the folks that live in the mountains, they're all gonna come visit me, because they basically now have to say, hey, Mr. Demon Lord, are we okay to live here? And they're going to basically be under a branch of protection of a demon lord, which is now Rimuru. Much like how Hakuru was explaining to us this episode, much like how Clayman had dark elves in his area, which was a very interesting thing to note as well. Much like he had them under his protection, you know, these folks are going to be under Rimuru's protection. So very smartly, he's like, okay, let's invite all of them in, have them all come in at once, and kill two birds with one stone. It's not only welcoming them in, showing them around, showing them how we function here as, you know, as a city, as a, you know, baby nation, but then also inviting them to be, you know, not just part of his domain, but be part of Jura itself, like be part of their growing town as it expands across the whole forest. And, you know, they could live in the same luxuries and have the same amenities that they have. And then Rimuru, in turn, would not only be able to expand his domain fully, but then he also gets laborers for after the expansion's done. He gets laborers and folks who, you know, can do jobs, and, you know, much like we all do in the world, we, you know, do jobs that, you know, continue his economy. And, you know, there's a variety of different jobs that just having more people could facilitate. So I really love that, you know, overall. I really love that overall of, you know, everything that was going on this episode. I thought that was just top tier. Now, what else this episode did was it focused on 𝐜𝐴LD. And I love 𝐜𝐴LD. You know, he's my favorite piggy, you know, Piggly Wiggly. Like, 𝐜𝐴LD is just an awesome character, not only for the fights that he's been a part of. I just really enjoy 𝐜𝐴LD as a character, the way he acts, the way he interacts with Rimuru, the way that he kind of commands his own presence. Kind of everything about 𝐜𝐴LD I just love as a character. So when he gets screen time and stuff, you know, and this was accentuated for me on a very personal level. This was accentuated to me from Slime Diaries, because in Slime Diaries, it shows 𝐜𝐴LD in a bunch of different light, you know, playing with children, and I love 𝐜𝐴LD as a character. So him being another focus on this episode was Chef's Kiss. Awesome to see as well, too. And I love how Rimuru was able to not associate, but kind of empathize, or, you know, put himself in 𝐜𝐴LD's shoes, because he remembers the way that 𝐜𝐴LD is coming across this situation, just like he did back in the day when he was in the human world, and he had to deal with, you know, the corporate life and, you know, appeasing people, having people under you, getting them to work right, you know, not just doing the work yourself, like all these things that come with that. And I just love how Rimuru was like, okay, ultimately he's like, I think, I think we need to go drink. You know what I mean? And he's like, let's go out and let's drink. And he kind of, he told Trainee, but then he told Rimuru, and he kind of posed all the problems that he's having. He's like, I'm having these miscommunication with Majin. I'm having this miscommunication with these other beast folk because the telepathy that he uses doesn't get across to them. So he has to use his words. And there's the different hierarchy. So I just love how he's very tired, but then he's also just very vulnerable. And I really like that as well too. And Rimuru was able to kind of set him back on track and all of that as well too. So I really just, love being able to kind of see what their worries are and how they're kind of, running through that. And sometime this episode, Rimuru was like, man, things are running so smoothly. Am I even needed here? And I think this Geld situation was a moment to show him that, yeah, you are still very much, needed, and the wisdom that he can provide based on experiences and kind of using those experiences in here. So I really, really love the Geld storyline. The last thing I'll really touch on here is the Benimaru stuff. And I like how Shuna, is that her name? Shuna. I like how Benimaru's sister called Benimaru out for getting really close to Albus, because we saw in last season and that they were very it was a very captain subordinate type relationship, but Shuna was like, hey, so you just want to go, because he's like, oh, I'll go visit the flying folks in the mountains. He's like, I'll go handle them. You don't want a demon lord showing up to your doorstep. I'll go handle them. And Shuna's like, you just want to go so you can get closer to Albus, huh? So you got something to go do with her. He's like, And she's like, And Benimaru's like, yo, no, I give my life, my body, my soul, all of this is all for Rimuru. And Rimuru's like, oh, Albus, huh? He's like, And I just really love that moment. I thought it was just such a funny moment. And I was like, that's cool. I don't think, and the only thing I would have liked to have seen is like, even if he does get close to Albus, even if they get hitched, have a kid or something, that doesn't negate him from still being Rimuru's right-hand man. Now, obviously Rimuru's like, yo, you're my right-hand bro. Like, I trust you, but he could have been like, even if you do have relations with Albus, hey, it's a-okay, buddy. But I just thought that was just a really, really funny moment this episode. But overall, put a cork in it, from Diablo telling his plans with Falmouth to us learning about different, or me personally learning different races. Well, obviously we know different races, but learning that there's still folks that live outside the barrier of Jura, and there's still folks that come in. Learning the elves are still expecting the road to be built. Learning that there's dark elves and ancient ruins. Learning that, we have a person here. We have a lot of new folks here, and Geld's struggling. Learning that there's going to be a party next week. So there's so much set up this episode that it's like, I'm entertained and then beyond entertained. You know what I mean? And I don't really know how to put those into words, but it's like, it's just so good. And that's what I'll leave you. So let me know what you guys thought about episode 3 of Reincarnated as a Slime. Season 3? Season 2? Season 2 part 2? Season 3. Season 3. I always forget. When they split it up into so many cores and so many, it's in season 1-2-4. It always makes it freaking hard. But I'll see you in the next episode, my friends, and I'm interested to see your comments below. All right. Peace out. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Have a good night. Have a good evening. Have a good morning.